You're listening to the Game Tenants Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Game Tenants Podcast, the failed adventures of two gamers and their quest for Gamecast stardom. This is episode 55, and I am Church of the Game Grinder, and as always, joined by my excellent co-host, or new co-host at this point, Justin, also known as Cardboard Zero.
Hello, hello.
How is it going?
It is going pretty good.
Feeling pretty confident after doing an episode, ready to...
Yeah, I'm walking tall. I'm feeling strong, cashing checks and breaking necks.
Yeah, awesome. I had some comments and people were like, "Oh yeah, you did an awesome job for not being like a previous content creator." So,
well, excellent. I appreciate the support.
Yeah. So, what have you been up to the last couple weeks?
Well, obviously we had our America's Pride Day last week, so even though I didn't really go out and see any fireworks or anything, and like I say, the weather has been a little here in our hemisphere, and so I've just been doing some light gaming. Spent some time with some friends and some barbecuing, obviously, and then back to work. Oh, good.
Yeah.
So after a long vacation.
And you actually came over and kind of hung out for a couple days.
Yes, I did.
Last week, you were playing Suikoden 2, and that's kind of when I started Breath of the Wild. That was good. Been a while since I did that.
Little dual gaming, dual banjos for nerds.
Yeah. It kind of makes, like, even though I haven't really used my CRT much since I got it, I'm glad I have that 36-inch. What is it? A Sony Wega. That you can make use of.
How much does it weigh?
250 pounds.
Thing's a beast.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But hey, good TV, yeah.
No, it's a great TV. Because we hooked up. I was playing it on your PS2, and you were using component cables, and it looked beautiful. It's such a great TV for retro gaming.
Yes, I know there's some better models. Like this is one of the later. Before they went, I think like there was like kind of a transition to the flat screen CRT, and this isn't like they did the flat screen and then they did the HD CRT, and this is like the model before they went to the HD CRT. So I know there's another one that's like a little bit more desirable. I think it has like extra component inputs or something, but. It's good as is.
Yeah, you can't always worry about what the Joneses have. So I mean, it's heavy. It's got a, like you say, 36-inch. I mean, I think I only have the 27 that my grandmother gave me. She's like, I upgraded to a flat screen finally. You can take this huge heavy thing. I'm like, oh, I could play Nintendo games on it.
Yeah.
So
cool. But so not to steal your thunder there. So what have you been gaming besides? I also Suikoden 2. I'm talk about it all. What have you been playing?
Well, like I say, with the holiday week, even though I didn't go out and do much, I still did a little bit with some friends outside of the gaming realm. But like I say, I worked on Suikoden 2. Then when I came back home, I worked on it a little bit more because, as we talked about last episode, one of our Facebook groups has a retro summer challenge, which great time to pick playing a 60 to 80 hour game. Use the summertime. Not the winter time when you're stuck inside, but sure.
Good point.
They really thought that one out, but it's kind of weird because like how we talk about backlogs and stuff, it's like it's really I wouldn't say hard, but it's a tough decision to be like, what do I dedicate my time to? So playing that game, getting past the first couple hours and really getting the game to open up, it's like, Well, you saw it. I was just sucked in. I'm just
Yeah.
like, this is so much fun. I remember how great this game is.
Yeah, and you've played it before too.
Yep. Yes, I have. I've beaten the game before. But it was just fun. It's, when you sometimes I have a hard time going back to certain retro games when I'm so caught up in the new age of the new stuff, PC gaming, PS4 and whatnot. You're just like, God, these graphics are so good. And then you go back and it's kind of like, but then nostalgia grabs you and you're like, okay, I remember why I love this.
Well, there's just the appeal of sprites, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not always the end all be all. I love sprites; they're very aesthetic.
Yes.
Especially when done well and with various like added animations, which some of these later PS1 games, in particular, took full advantage of. And I guess just in case anybody listening isn't familiar with the Suikoden series or Suikoden 2, you just want to kind of like mention what the games are?
Sure. Suikoden is a series, I want to say, off Chinese folklore of some sort.
I think so.
I can't, because I don't think it's based out of Japan, but I could be wrong. But it's based off folklore, and it's the standard RPG. You have a party, you have random encounters, level up, get gear. But the part of the game that I like is you end up having a central base that you work out of, and you are trying to recruit the 108 stars of destiny. Obviously, you're one of them, your main character, and they all kind of gravitate towards you. You have this power of personality, even though your character never says anything.
Yeah.
You're the silent protag, but yet everyone's so gravitated to you. But and the game, some of the characters, they're just like, they're storyline based, where like, you've made it this far, I'll join your party permanently.
Yeah, there's strictly NPCs.
Yeah, and then there's other ones that you kind of have to go on a scavenger hunt for, like, this person might be hiding in a cave, or there might be a merchant. You have to bring them this super rare drop item, and then they'll finally join your party. So,
yeah.
Otherwise,
and you can
like
use a lot of them in your party.
Oh yes, yeah. A lot of the characters you collect are like you say, NPCs back at your castle, like town weapon sellers, ruin effect. You have your magic comes from ruins that you have to affix to your character or your weapon. And then other ones are combat people and you have a party of 6 people. The other cool thing at the time that it kind of like Chrono Trigger-esque, and you didn't see it a lot in those games back then, from like Super Nintendo into PS1 into PS2, where if 2 people have different element runes, like a fire person, a fire rune, and a lightning rune go off, the spell will combine and become more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so cool when they add little things like that instead of just you cast lightning bolt or you cast fireball. It's like,
yes.
They combine into a fire lightning ball. It's like, Chrono Trigger did that when you had your dual techs and your triple techs, which was like, took combat to the next level.
Yes.
So, but yeah, that's Suikoden in a series. There are 5 of them for mainstay, and they're like Final Fantasy games. Mm. The stories don't connect. They make certain references to past games, but if someone's like, oh, which one should I start with? Anyone's fine. They all pretty much play the same.
Yeah, the PlayStation 2 ones, I haven't played those. Do they modernize the graphics, or do they stick with sprites?
I want to. I don't know if they are fancy sprites or if they're just really refined polygons. I'm not. I when it comes to certain terms like that, I'm not very good. I mean, I know sprites are sprites, obviously, when you talk
pixel
about
based or like 3D rendered.
I want to say 3D rendered. When they
that makes sense. That makes sense.
That sounds correct.
It's a pretty highly regarded series as well. They're not just like super obscure RPGs like most people are, particularly into like the retro and the like PS1 era. Like those are definitely RPGs that get a lot of attention. And then there's always the high priced Suikoden 2, which fortunately the price has gone down on that. So it's getting more likely I'll be able to get it.
Well, you can always borrow it if you're feeling froggy and want to jump. But
Sure.
It's just the only thing that makes me sad about it.
Yeah.
Is who made it or produced it.
Yeah, Konami.
And we're never gonna get another one.
Get a pachinko machine maybe.
Yippee.
Or a mobile game or something.
So yeah, I'm just like, why does because it's one of my favorite series. It was just, and it was crazy too, because it was a blind buy. I remember being in a little, used game shop and where I grew up, and I was just, PS1 was new. I was young, and I was just like, I think this is a role-playing game. Sometimes you read the back and you're like, I don't know what this is. And hopefully the screenshots do it justice.
Yeah.
So I rented it, played it, loved it, bought it.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I can't remember exactly. So I have a close friend I've been friends with real life like 20 years. It's his favorite series for RPGs or JRPGs anyways. He doesn't play retro at all. Like he pretty much only plays current stuff, rarely goes back to games. He has his PS1 RPG collection and he just won't give it up. But it was either him and I had another friend that I'm still kind of like acquaintances with, but we went to junior high together, and he was also like, they were both into Suikoden 1 when it first came out, and that's how I found out about it. And I'd bought it, played through it, enjoyed it, didn't get all the characters, but for some reason I ended up selling it, probably to get some other game for some other reason. At that point I wasn't collecting, and there was only a few games that like I would not give up.
Sure. So
that was one of the sacrifices. I have it again. Haven't replayed it since then, so probably like 98 or so. I'm not sure when it came out. But I do want to replay the first one. I know there's not story connections, but I'd like to replay the first one and play the second one, but I might just try to get the second one eventually and play that and then just keep moving on.
Oh, and surprisingly enough, the first one's actually not that long. Back in the day when you're trudging through it the first time, you're like, oh man, this is a pretty, meaty game. And then once you kind of know how the game flows and you know where you need to go, it's kind of like Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
You're like, it's not quite long enough. You're like, give me like an extra 10 hours and this would have been perfect.
Sure. And one cool thing too is the save data. If you have the save data for the first one and you play a second one, you get one character. Is it just one character?
Two.
Or is it two characters?
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool. I always like that stuff.
And again, Konami, they were so on that stuff, like Metal Gear Solid. If you had other Konami games on your memory card, Psycho Mantis would be like, I see you've been playing Suikoden.
Yeah.
You're like, what? This just blew my mind.
Yeah. For me, I think at the time you might have mentioned that, but he did mention Castlevania because I had Symphony of the Night save data.
Yeah, I would just search for other Konami stuff on your save card, and it's like, that was so cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yep.
Thanks, Konami.
Yeah. It's sad.
Yeah. No, and then like I said last episode, I still been playing 14. It never ends.
Final Fantasy 14.
Correct.
For those who are in the know.
Sorry. I get so used to it. You're just like, want to play some 14? And people that know were like, yeah, let's get on. Yes, yeah. Final Fantasy 14. It's an MMO, and they released a new content patch that added. The best way to say it is, they call it Heaven on High, and what it is, it's a 100-floor tower that you climb, and each floor is randomly generated every time you enter. So it's never the same twice, but the point of it's still the same.
Yeah.
So, but they, of course, when they added that, they added new certain loot, costume, glamour pieces and mounts that you can find through it. So everyone's been just consuming that to try to get all the new stuff. So,
how long did it take for the first person to complete the tower? Do you know?
Well, you can go in there as part. You can either do it by yourself, which is extremely difficult, or you can do a party of 4. So I haven't looked up yet if anybody's done it by themselves. I'm sure there are because there's always world firsters and everything.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, but I think it only took the first day or 2 for a party to go up there because, as long as you're competent, you know what you're doing, you can get through it. It's not impossible content. It's just something that there's a lot of RNG for the drops, which is, hey, this treasure chest had the mount I wanted, or it had garbage. So you're competing on RNG on all levels when you're playing an MMO because that's how they got to keep you. If you can just get everything the first day, you're gonna be like, well, I'm just gonna unsubscribe until something new comes out.
Right.
So got to keep it coming back for more.
Cool.
So otherwise than that, I got a new game in that I get to start here soon on the PS4, and that is called Shining Resonance Refrain.
Yeah, I've heard. I've seen a lot of people posting pictures that they're just like picking up their copies and stuff.
Yes, I got mine delivered by Amazon in a nice bubble mailer. Thanks, Amazon.
Yeah.
So a little bit about this. I know a little about this because here's a little thing, viewers, that I blind buy things off Amazon when it comes to games. And if it's an RPG and it has, shall we say, anime chicks on it, I'm like, well, it's got to be good.
Service.
Exactly. I hate to admit that, but
well, I don't know if it's like readily obvious on my end of things, but and we've had a discussion before, and I know some people will listen are familiar with the term cheesecake. I don't remember where that discussion went when we drove to MGC. Because you guys are like, what the hell are you talking about? What's cheesecake? Fan service? But yeah, I'm totally a sucker. There are various games in my collection that was like, ooh, what's that? Not as much blind buy maybe as you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're particular about your RPGs too, but yeah, I'm right there with you.
Well, the thing that caught me is because obviously Amazon does that. Hey, you bought this or you like this, you'll probably buy this. Wink. And just the title though, Shining Resonance, Refrain is probably just the flavor, of it. But and it's made by Sega.
Well, isn't it part of the sort of like part of the Shining Force series?
And that's what I was thinking because they also have other games that use the Shining moniker. Because there's Shining in the Darkness on Genesis. There's Shining the Holy Ark on the Saturn.
Yep.
There's 2 Game Boy or GBA games that have like Shining.
There's been some recent ones too.
Yeah, so it's not just called Shining Force, which are obviously the strategy RPGs from the Genesis era.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I wonder if it plays into that series. So I was kind of confident in that I'm like, okay, Sega Shining, it's probably going to be in the realm of that. There's also a couple on the PS2.
Sure.
So, but I looked it up. I got the notice like your package got shipped out. I'm like, what package? Because I forgot that it released this month. And so I was looking up some videos. I'm like, oh, cool. It plays a lot like the Tales series, the Tales of Destiny or Tales of Berseria. I was like, and some of the reviews I saw, people are like, this is actually a really good game. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah, this when I initially saw the trailers, like it looked kind of interesting. And then for some reason and I don't know if this is like, it was just like a particular instance or if this is a thing about the game, but there seemed like in the trailer anyways, they showed some focus on like the characters playing like musical instruments. And I was like, I think I'm good on that.
Well, the back of the game says create music with the BAND system to enhance your powers. So I'm sure it's some little weird mini game or, some mechanic that like, oh, you can give this character more strength. But
yeah, it's definitely something I'm going to keep my eyes out for. I haven't really seen any reviews pop up. I haven't really looked too in depth for it, but I know there's like a little limited edition for it too, and that's always
The Draconic Launch Edition that I may or may not have.
right. We're both kind of suckers for those.
Well, and the neat thing is, though, you obviously, hopefully, people are familiar with steel books. The cases. So instead of like your just generic plastic with the paper, you get steel books, which are just pretty artwork, and it's a steel book. So this is more of like a steel sleeve.
Oh, yeah, the Odinsphere Relief Thracier storybook edition came with that as well.
Yeah.
It's like a sleeve.
So it's not an actual... Yeah, so I still have the blue PS4 plastic case, and then it slides into the cool game artwork metal sleeve case. I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah,
cool.
Different. I'm not sure. I'm still not sure how I feel about that versus the standard steelbook, but I think it's kind of neat because then, in a way, you kind of get the best of both worlds. You still get like the standard game, but then you also get this cool packaging as well.
You get your little collector fix. You're like,
yeah. You're like, oh, now I don't have to go out and buy the standard version too, kind of thing.
yeah. But otherwise than that, that's like I say, with the holiday, that I didn't really have a whole lot of like exploring to do. So that's what's been keeping me busy. What you been playing?
Yeah, so as I'd mentioned last episode, I finished Suikoden Setsu 3 or Secret of Mana 2, however you want to refer to it. So I'm not going to go too much into detail about that. I kind of talked about it a little bit before. Just minor reiteration: if you like Secret of Mana, it's basically more Secret of Mana. They do a couple different things with the game where they give you different characters to choose, giving you some like minor story arc changes, like mostly like the setup and kind of like the end boss of the game. Bigger. Some things are optimized. They got rid of the weapon leveling system. Character just has a weapon. But you can get like these class upgrades throughout the game. One thing that I did mention that I thought the end got a little bit grindy. Seemed like it was like you get to this point where basically the world opens up and you can start exploring at will. And it's like, okay, now you got to go defeat these 8 bosses. And now you got to go fight this boss. And then you got to go to this area and go through all the bosses again. And then you fight the end boss. And I wasn't sure how I felt about that, but once I finished the game, I can't really complain about it. I had fun doing it. It gets you leveled up, gets you more skills and abilities and stuff. So I would definitely say for anybody who is a fan of Mana to check out Secret of Mana 2 or Suikoden Setsu 3. I guess the only thing that I can kind of knock it compared to Mana is I didn't think the soundtrack was as good. There were some great songs, but not as like stand out for me. But that could be the nostalgia factor too. Like who knows? Maybe in 20 years I might say, oh yeah, no, Suikoden Setsu 3's soundtrack's way better. I don't think it is, but
Well, I mean, different soundtracks resonate with us. I mean, I'm sure there's probably a soundtrack that resonates with you that other people are like, oh, really? You like that one?
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
To each their own.
Yeah, for sure. But then, as I mentioned, I was kind of thinking about jumping into another huge game for just a knockout, a kind of a must-play 100-hour game or whatever, and decided to go with Breath of the Wild. I'd actually consulted with Jason, Corpse Flood Gaming, who gave me Yakuza 0 and Breath of the Wild, and he was kind of like, yeah, Breath of the Wild. So I jumped into that. I'm about 35 hours in at this point.
Oh, wow.
It's been less than a week that I've been playing it. So, of course, when you hung out the couple days there, I definitely got some hours in. But I had played it before. I talked about when Jason was on last year. Actually, it's probably around this time. I think it was actually like March or something. So if anybody goes back, I had visited. I went up to Canada to visit right after he got Breath of the Wild. Not because he got Breath of the Wild, but
I'm driving to Canada for the game. I mean, my friends there too, but yeah.
So, and we kind of took turns played for probably like 8 or 10 hours while I was there that weekend, and got a pretty good kind of introduction to the game, and really enjoyed it. Thought it was really cool and everything, and playing it now, like just being able to sit down by myself, fully invest myself in the game, immerse myself in the world. It is definitely an absolutely fantastic game. I actually saw one of PK's retro reviews actually just did put out a video. He had done a review for Breath of the Wild that he never released, and the video that he did was it was releasing that video, but he was reviewing his review because he was like, yeah, I'm not sure if my thoughts are going to change on this, and some of his thoughts did change. So it was interesting to be able to reflect off of some of that, and I totally forgot where I was going with that. God dang it. I had something. I was going somewhere with that, and I lost it, so I apologize. Jesus Christ.
That's cool. Hey, keep it going. That's fine.
Yeah. He talked about this too, that for him, Breath of the Wild isn't his favorite Zelda still.
Okay.
I think him was Link's Awakening, but there's a lot of course, since it came out, there's a lot of discussion whether or not this is the best Zelda game yet. I could take that opinion and be fine with that. I still am a huge fan of Link to the Past, but excellent. Breath of the Wild is a damn good game. I mean, like I said before, and I still kind of agree with it. It is very similar in many aspects to games like Skyrim. In many ways, has less of some elements, more of other elements. I'm sure anybody who's played it are aware, but it's a little bit more. I wouldn't say it's more hands off, but there's less kind of in your face story. Where Skyrim was, it was the Elder Scrolls game, Fallout games. You're pretty free to do what you want, but it tends to be a little bit more direct, with kind of leading you where to go in some aspects. Breath of the Wild has that too, but it's a little looser.
Okay.
Because basically you do some intro quests, and then they're like, oh, hey, so there's these things out there. Go do something with those things if you want. It's up to you. And that's about it. So I was like, once I got to that point, I was like, crap, okay, so I got this massive world, where do I go? So I've just picked a route, and I'm essentially kind of, when you start the game, they kind of have you go eastward across the map, and then I was like, okay, there's a blinking dot to the north, so I'm gonna go north, and I'm just gonna go counterclockwise and make my way around the map. So I'm at the 5th or 6th area that unlocks. Basically, it's like the Gerudo area. The Death Mountain. I haven't gone to Death Mountain yet. But I'm really enjoying it. I'm squeezing it in kind of every chance I get. That's basically what I've been doing with gaming lately, since I haven't been doing much stuff on videos, unfortunately, which I hope to get back to eventually. But I think my only semi-complaint, and this is, I think, pretty common with a lot of people, is kind of the weapon system. Weapons break fast. You get tons of weapons. Like, you fight an enemy, they drop weapons. You knock down a tree, it drops a tree branch. Hey, there's a weapon. Going to the shrines, there's weapons. I mean, they throw weapons at you, which it's kind of cool. I do like the fact that they get you to use your weapons, because a lot of games, they'll have lots of weapons. I mean, look at Skyrim, Fallout, even like Dark Souls, and for the most part, we kind of just hone in on like, we're like, I like this weapon, I'm gonna stick with this, and you use that weapon like the entire game, which is fine. But I like the variety that the system kind of pushes.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's frustrating when, I've been fighting through these areas and just fighting like, I forget the Baka goblins or whatever. Just kind of your fodder enemies. And then finally, by the time you get to like a tough enemy or something, oh crap, most of my like weapons are busted. I got these like 2 kind of cool weapons that I've been holding on to. So I'm gonna pull those out, and you know what? These really cool weapons. I just got this flame sword. Oh man, this thing's really cool. I haven't seen this anywhere in the game. I don't even know how I got this. Why is it in this one area? And then it breaks after like a few swings. So that's kind of frustrating. I think I guess I don't know, the perceived importance of a weapon doesn't necessarily reflect its durability. Like you find this really this great flame sword, and in the whole game you've been running around using like rusted weapons and shit. You'd think that it would be a little bit stronger, and I think they are to some extent, but a lot of these, like, I'm finally starting to find cool weapons and they still break really fast, and it's really frustrating because you want to save these cool weapons, but you can't really do that unless you're just going to have your inventory filled. And
gotta have inventory management.
Yeah.
I have a question for you though, to back up a little bit of what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So how you're like, it's so expansive, it kind of like holds your hand to a certain point and kind of goes, okay, you're free, go do what you want. When you play games like that, I guess I'll focus it more on Breath of the Wild. Do you feel ever overwhelmed after the hand holding's done, when you're like, there it is, the world is yours to explore, go where you want, do what you want? Do you ever kind of be like, do you get intimidated or overwhelmed at all?
Yeah, I typically will have kind of like just a general like, oh crap, like this whole world just opened up. Like I can, it's more of, where do I feel like I should go to benefit my enjoyment? Like, should I just go to the next like main quest point and kind of explore on my way as I go to that, or should I just like explore in general? Like what I do with or what I've done in the past with games like Skyrim or Fallout 3, 4, New Vegas is, you get to the point where they're like, okay, now you're kind of free to go. I'll kind of see if I got like any immediate like side quests, and I might do those and kind of see what directions those might take me. Or I might just kind of like generally wander my way towards the next objective, maybe do like a big arc so I can like kind of start like forming some consistent path where I can kind of make some path to essentially explore as much of the game as I can by the time I try to like make my way around to all the objectives.
Yeah.
So what was kind of what I kind of like is that once they kind of open things up in Breath of the Wild, there's I'm not trying to do like spoilers, so I'm not going to give too much, but there's 4 points that they're like, okay, you can go do things at these places, and they almost make them kind of like almost like 4 corners, not so much 4 corners of the map, but spread out enough where essentially I can kind of do like I said, just like a kind of a counterclockwise motion of regions. So typically, I'll start like at the south of a region, make my way all the way north, and then I'll kind of go to the next region. And, if I start at the north, I'll go all the way south or something like that. And not necessarily hitting like every single labeled place. Like when you zoom in on the map, like canyons are labeled and rivers are labeled, and some places might have like a little thing, like you might find the little the Koroks, the little I don't know how they explain them. You find all these Koroks. There's like 900 of them, which is ridiculous. I'm not going to find them all. Like, I'm not even going to try. Yeah, there's lots of stuff. I guess the one thing that I felt was kind of lacking is in other open world games that I really enjoy. And I keep bringing up Skyrim, I keep bringing up Fallout and stuff, like even Horizon. Like a lot of times in those games, when you come to areas and regions, you can, in some ways, you can kind of like, and I think particularly Fallout did a very well job of this, of indirectly kind of giving you story of what happened, like what people might have done in this little area by either having just some visual clues, like maybe there's a skeleton or some furniture, kind of hints that what these people. And Breath of the Wild doesn't do much of that. I mean, they tell you what happened. They're like, oh yeah, Ganon came back, blah, shit sucks now.
Yeah.
But there's not like it's kind of hard to explain. I mean,
there's not a lot of lore for each of these places.
Yeah. I mean, there's like little camps, or I don't know, they're called stables or whatnot. I think they're stables in various places where you can meet some NPCs and kind of talk a little bit about things. But I would like to see more personalized stories, I guess, that kind of reflect on the world to try to make things seem more important, I guess. Because here we got this, Calamity Ganon rose up 100 years ago and defeated all of our champions, and now he's just swirling around the castle, and everybody's just kind of going about their life like whoop-de-doo. But they're like, oh, Calamity Ganon. It's like,
end of the world's floating over there, but I got the fields to tend to.
yeah, stuff like that. In all these games, all open world games kind of struggle with that in many regards. And a lot of games, I mean, of course, like you can, oh, this person's gonna destroy the world, I'm gonna go do 20 hours of side questing. That's like any game. But I don't know. I'm not complaining. I think, and we kind of talked about this a little bit, because a lot of people are like, Breath of the Wild, when it came out, game of the year, best game ever made, blah, the usual kind of the hype, the fanboyism. I mean, it's a fantastic game. If somebody's it's their favorite game of all time, that's cool with me. But I don't necessarily agree with that. I think the thing that they really did well was the, do what you want kind of thing. The fact that you can climb, I think, is huge. Like playing open world games, it's like, why can't I climb up over this little hill? Like that's one thing that always bothered me in this game. Like you want to go there, you go there essentially. And I think that's really awesome. Of course, there are the corners of the map. They basically, I've only been to like one side, like exclusively, to really see, one side's ocean. So you can go out in the ocean, but you're not going to be able to go forever. You're going to run out of stamina.
Yep.
And die. I mean, maybe somebody stocked up on potions. I don't know how far you can go. I saw another kind of corner of a map where it looked like there was like this mountain range that just like turned into this massive chasm. So there are borders, but in the realm of the game map itself, like you can pretty much go anywhere you want. And I would love to see that have more effects like throughout future games that other developers make, because I really think that adds a lot. And it gives more variation too. Like you can throw things up on mountains, and hey, I'm gonna climb this mountain. Oh, hey, cool. Here it's a dungeon or a building or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure most people have heard like general reviews about Breath of the Wild, and a lot of it I can agree with. Fantastic game, but I still stand by my my Game of the Year pick for last year. Breath of the Wild didn't really change that, although Breath of the Wild would probably be pretty high up on my list for best games released last year.
And see, I'd like to touch on that. One comment earlier to what you were talking about, like how you wish there was more lore attached to, like, oh, what are the Sanguine Mountains? Why do they call that? Why are people, Zelda, the series, has never been very good about lore.
Right.
It's usually about here's who you are, here's what you have to do, and here's everything in the middle.
Yeah.
After that, just do it.
Right. And I'm very, I totally agree. That's how the series is, and that's fine. But I think in the setting of Breath of the Wild, like that sort of stuff could have only stood to add more to the game. And they already made this massive game. I mean, the amount of content that they put in here, I think, is fantastic. Like, people say 100 hours. Like, I don't know, man. This game might the rate I'm going, it seems, and I'm progressing through areas. Like I said, I'm at like 35 hours, and there's still like massive piece of my world map that's not been explored yet, or even shown, because you have to find towers to kind of reveal like a little region. And there's a lot to do still. So,
but my question would have been then is how, if you kind of look at the evolution of Zelda as a series, it tends to get this every time it makes a jump in either a system, which equals better graphics, more space, more whatever. So to say Zelda 1 and 2, and then you make the jump to Super Nintendo, then it's like, whoa, Zelda. And then like Link to the Past probably gets like best game of the year. And then you move to the 64, Zelda Ocarina of Time. Oh my God, I didn't think Zelda could ever look, this game could ever look like this. The GameCube, it's debatable. I don't think there was, the polygons from the 64 to the GameCube, obviously night and day difference, but I was like, So I guess what I'm trying to say is, to say like people, oh, Game of the Year, best Zelda, best game ever, I kind of wonder, is it just because Zelda tried something new, which, i.e. open sandbox, the world is not just... Zelda's always had like a decent sized map, even Link to the Past, from Zelda 1. You're like, wow. And then it had two worlds technically, because you had the dark world and then the light world. Yeah. And so you had plenty of exploration. But like just from what you're explaining and talking about, and other friends that I played the game, it is such a huge, expansive world. And people just go, oh my God, best Zelda, Game of the Year, hands down. I'm like, is it just because it's Zelda trying something new? It did it right. Don't get me wrong, but you're kind of following other people's footsteps.
Sure.
And slapping Zelda on it.
So I am definitely not anywhere as much of a Zelda fan as anybody who says they're a Zelda fan.
Sure.
I only just was it 2 years ago? Me, you, and another friend hung out, and I played through Ocarina of Time in a weekend. Oh God, yeah. That was quite the weekend. But that's as far as I've played through the series. So I've only played original Zelda 2, Link to the Past, and Awakening, and Ocarina. So I haven't played anything since then.
Okay.
And kind of going to like when you mentioned like when Ocarina of Time came out, people were like, "Holy crap!" Like, wow, graphics and everything. And at the time, I wasn't even terribly impressed by it. I'd gone the route of PlayStation, which people would be like, "Oh, that instantly makes you you're a PlayStation fanboy and stuff," which at the time I totally wasn't. That's just what had the games. It turned me into a fanboy through the quality releases that I've enjoyed over the years.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It's like, I wasn't just because at the time I didn't know what a fanboy was, but come on, you put the PlayStation versus a 64. Hey,
right.
Nintendo, that's what you were supposed to be, but you didn't want to finish the deal, so Sony picked up the slack.
Yeah, and the whole disc cartridge third-party support.
Cough, Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, but no, like just I'm not a Nintendo fan. This day and age, not at all.
Okay.
Not saying I don't like Nintendo games. Like as a company, I'm not a big fan of Nintendo. Just as I've learned more about the company and things I've learned and experienced over the years, especially going back.
There goes some of our viewership.
Well, this is nothing new to anybody who listens to the podcast. I'm not crazy about Nintendo. I love the NES. I love the Super Nintendo. I enjoy the Wii. I got some, I have all the systems. I have games on all the Nintendo systems. It's just I'm not going to run out and buy a Nintendo system day one unless they got a huge or a library of games that I'm super interested in. The Switch is, with what they announced at E3, I'm getting pretty interested. So we'll see what happens next year. But so I don't have the Nintendo bias. I don't have the Zelda bias. I don't think Zelda's like the greatest series ever. There's games I love in the series and others I haven't played that I'm not dying to play. But no, I will definitely say Breath of the Wild is an absolutely fantastic game. Made very well. It's impressive what they're able to do, especially considering Breath of the Wild was originally developed for the Wii U.
Yep.
Wii U is not a very powerful system.
It is.
It is, but not to the level of the competitors, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360.
But I think you have to keep a certain mindset when you say that, though, because while you have the 360 and the PS3 come out and Nintendo goes, here's the Wii, and you're like, where's the HDMI port? And they're like, oh, we didn't put one there. And you're like, wait, you come out with a new gen console and you can't even go to HDMI? You're like, nope, you get this cool component cable. Like, okay. So what I'm trying to say is it was powerful for what Nintendo intended it to do, because Nintendo, when the Wii came out, even said, we're focusing on great games, not great graphics.
Right.
And if
Wii U, Breath of the Wild's Wii U.
No, I know. I'm just saying, though, and then you move it to the Wii U, really what I think is the Wii U should have been like their economy package for the Wii. I don't think they needed to make a whole new console because I didn't really see much differences, but
yeah, and that's a whole nother
it's a powerful enough system to do what Nintendo intended it to do.
And
the PS4 and the Xbox One, they're like trying to crank out, they're trying to sniff PC type games and the way they perform.
Yeah,
but
and
Nintendo's just like, nope, keep what we know.
And this will go back to kind of another thing that for me and for you, I know graphics aren't end all be all. They aren't make or break.
No, not
graphics are very. They're awesome, having really cool looking games and stuff, but that's definitely not the most important thing. So, but in the terms of like comparing them to other modern games in similar style, it's impressive. Like, you look at something like Skyrim or Fallout, and you can look across these massive areas. Like, you can do that in Breath of the Wild, and I'm not. You might be able to see more, actually. Like, it's that's one thing that I really do enjoy in Breath of the Wild is, I'm in this new region. I tend to zigzag. I kind of look at the map and see, hey, that might be a point of interest, so I'm going to run over there. Hey, there's this mountain. I'm just going to climb this mountain and look, because I'm going to get, bird's eye view. And every time I do it, it's just like, this is awesome. Like, I can see the Great Plateau, which is the starting area. Like, it's all the way on the other side of the map. I can see that. It's like, it looks pretty good. I mean, of course, the trees and stuff will kind of like fade out but it's not like jarring. seeing those long distances and graphical changes. Like, it looks pretty damn good. Like, the scenery, like the overall, like the hills and stuff, they don't look a whole lot different when you see them from all the way from the other side of the map. No, it really is. It's a great game. For the Zelda series, I could be okay if someone's like, "Oh, best Zelda game." I mean, I'm kind of debating that myself right now, just for what I've played. Like I said, I love Link to the Past. I love Zelda 2. I know a lot of people do not like Zelda 2, but I love that game.
It's a solid game, yeah.
But this is up there, and as far as like first party Nintendo games too, like, I know this is pretty high up there on my list of where I'd rank first party Nintendo games too. It's awesome, and it's going to be really interesting to see where they go from here.
Mm-hmm.
Because are they going to run with this? Is the next Zelda game going to be in this style? Are they going to go back to smaller world linear gameplay? Because there's a lot that could be done with this to like make it like that much more cooler for the next game.
Well, it depends if they kind of do what they do for 64, like what they did with 64. Like, you have Majora's Mask. They didn't have to do a whole lot for that game except make a whole new game or make a different story in game. They could just use half the assets they already created from Ocarina of Time. There was no upgrades. There was no graphical difference. It was still the same ugly polygons, and it's not the game's fault. It's just technology and a new type of developing at the time. So I wonder if they're going to do that. Like, okay, we have this asset world. We can now just start to add more or focus, like what you were asking for, maybe focus on certain areas and just kind of make like a side story. How, after Link was done in Ocarina of Time, right into Majora's Mask.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you say, there's a lot more they could do with it. Maybe they do something like that. Otherwise, I wouldn't really expect to see another Zelda game for at least another 4 years.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely going to be a while, I'd imagine. So, but yeah, that's kind of like my long-winded initial thoughts on Breath of the Wild. I'll probably talk about it some more next episode. We'll see. I'm trucking along. It's going to take me a while to finish it, so I'm sure I'll be at this one for a while. But yeah, good.
Well, yeah, as long as you're having fun, though, that's the most important thing. If you were just like, I got to finish this just so I can say it's done, but I'm hating every minute of it.
Right.
No, that's not the right way to do it.
Right. And then just a little mention is I am playing a little bit of Overwatch still, just on kind of like on the weekends with some of my friends.
Cool.
So yeah, there's that. So I guess that will be our kind of like super long-winded what's up section, which we're that's something that kind of never changes. Like we kind of just like to talk about the games we're playing. I hope everybody enjoys the conversation. So yeah. So then moving on here, the retro game highlight section that we are doing in the podcast, just another way to include more retro when a lot of times what we're talking about is modern, although we did talk about some retro stuff today. And this week I am doing the pick for retro game highlight. And like, I just like to mention that, this isn't necessarily like, this aren't like hidden gems, or they don't have to be the greatest games on the systems. They're just cool games that, some people might not have heard about. So everybody might know about it. It's just, hey, this is a cool retro game. Check it out.
You could say they're a link to our gaming past.
And yes, and this one is definitely one of those. It's kind of actually been getting some mentions lately with some of the more recent kind of like samurai ninja games being announced, Sekiro and Ghost of Tsushima in particular. Mm-hmm. But the game here that is kind of one of my retro favorites for the PlayStation 1, and that is Tenchu Stealth Assassins.
Good game.
Fantastic game. I've with some of the current discussions, I've heard a lot of people kind of mention the graphics, and it's less of an issue with me people are like, well, it has this goofy draw distance where you kind of have the black box around you.
Yep.
But kind of, when I was playing the game at the time, I didn't really think too much about that, especially in the fact that a lot of these areas you're playing in, it's night. So I was figuring, that's just how they're handling.
That's what I assumed too. Yep.
So that's not really a thing, but still, like, it's just such a cool game. It's like, we don't have a lot, in my opinion. There's some other really cool ninja games, but like, I think Tenchu just kind of nailed that. You're just a ninja, you're sneaking around, you're assassinating dudes, and it's a whole lot of fun. Tons of weapons at your disposal. Caltrops, shurikens. You can turn into I don't really understand it's like a Japanese culture thing where the log, they can turn into a log.
Yep.
That whole log thing, you can do that. And there's one of the few games that I actually like, and it's kind of shame, they didn't have achievements and stuff back then, because this is like one of the few games that like I like mastered it. I did everything, because there's you get rankings on the levels depending like how many times you get spotted, and I don't know if time was a factor, but I know it was spotted and silent kills.
Yep.
And I grandmastered everything, got all the unlocks, alternate costumes. Another thing people kind of like laugh at is the voice acting in the game.
Oh God, it's hideous.
But that didn't.
It's
bother
bad
me
good
at all.
though. It's bad good.
It's pretty ridiculous. Yes. It is what it is. The whole bad voice acting thing never really turned me off of games. Sometimes it'd be like just kind of weird, like, that's not great. But as long as the game itself was enjoyable, like, I can usually look past. Look at Resident Evil 1. Amazing game, terrible voice acting, and that's kind of where I'm with Tenchu as well. So for anybody,
I got a quick quiz for you without looking it up, unless you already have something up on it, and I don't know about it. What's the male protagonist's name?
Rikamaru.
Okay, good. I was like,
Rikamaru and Yame.
Yep, there you go.
Those are the two mains, and then I forget what the other guy. They introduced a guy in Tenchu 2. He was like the grappler.
Yeah, he was a doctor, and that's
breaknecks.
Yeah, but that was cool, because when he would silent assassin, it would show the skeletal
X-ray, and
then show where he's breaking the bones.
Yeah, really he did it before Mortal Kombat, even. Yep. Original X-ray kills. And like kind of the big thing with Tenchu is you don't have to play stealth, but Tenchu stealth assassins. That's kind of like the thing is you're sneaking. It's very very stealth heavy. The alert systems and view distance and all that stuff. And you walk around, you assassinate dudes, and eventually there's like just kind of the plot as the plot progresses. Like there's like little demon children things. Creepy as fuck, especially with that short draw distance. Like, because I don't know if you remember those. They're like these like skinny, big-headed, naked little like demon things that kind of like shuffled, like almost like a dance, like sideways shuffle that they would do. I remember them. And they'd just come out of the dark and be like, "Oh my god, crap!" And I remember like like it. There was like a kind of like. I don't know if intensity is the right word, or an excitement, trying to like not get caught, not get spotted, and then get around these guys and stuff. Just great game. The series kind of died out. I didn't play some of the later ones. I have most of the Tenchu games at this point. I've only played about half of them. There was so
you got 1 and 2 on the PS1. You have was it Tenchu Wrath of Heaven on the PS2, which was more of a remake of number 1, because a lot of the same missions were in it.
Yep.
You just got the fill-up gauge for the Wrath of Heaven move.
Yep. Fatal Shadows.
Yep. Where it's Yame and like another chick.
Yep. There was Tenchu Z, I think, on the Xbox or Xbox 360.
Yep. And that didn't have any. You just kind of. It was the same kind of gameplay, but you got to make your own ninja. You weren't Rikimaru or Yame. Okay. You were just a ninja.
And I don't know much about that one, and I don't have it yet.
You should pick it up. It's pretty fun.
There's one on the Wii as well, I believe.
I think that is, again, I think that's...
Fatal Shadows?
It's either that or it was the Wrath of Heaven, but they called it something different on the Wii.
Maybe that's what it is. Good games. I mean, they didn't do any huge, innovations once the series started up, but...
And technically, there's another one. There's a digital only that was on the PS3 and the 360, where it was more like it was tower defense-ish. You could set traps and stuff. I forget what it's called, but yeah, there's a Tenchu digital only.
Oh, okay. I don't think I knew about that one.
But it does not play anything like the normal series. It's more of this tower defense thing. Sure.
Yeah, Tenchu, I love it. I recommend people check it out if you're not familiar. And actually, I haven't done the research, but I heard that From Software actually has the rights to Tenchu now.
Oh, really?
Which, when the Shadows Die Twice trailer came out back in the Video Game Awards, a lot of people are like, "Hey, is this gonna be a Tenchu game, maybe?" Or
yeah, I did hear that get brought up.
And who knows? Maybe there's some Tenchu influence in Sekiro. I mean, it kind of looks like it. You got the ninja
grappling hook.
That was a really cool thing with Tenchu. Tenchu played a lot kind of like it was like Tomb Raider, but you're a ninja with a grappling hook.
Yeah, that's actually pretty rock on. A little slower than Tomb Raider, but yeah.
Yeah. Less puzzling, but like gameplay wise, you hang from ledges and so on and so forth. But yeah, so that is
the grappling hook that knew no bounds. That thing could some of the ridiculous places you could go with that grappling hook. You're like, first of all, I just threw this thing 100 feet across the screen. How am I being propelled to where I'm going?
Yeah, it wasn't infinite. Like there definitely were times where I'm like, damn it, why can't I grapple hook that? But yeah, that's a pretty good distance on it.
Or you could grapple hook to a ledge, but your character wouldn't grapple on, so you just grapple up and then fall to your death. You're like, well, what were you teasing me then for?
Yeah, I mean, PlayStation 1, they're working out some of those 3D growing pains for sure.
But still a fun game. It really was.
Yeah. So then just kind of jumping into some little news mentions here. Mostly just kind of little mentions as things are kind of remaining slow post E3. And not a lot of super big news that kind of jumped out to us. So just little things, little talking points. So we'll get right to it here. One thing I just kind of want to... I'm interested. I mean, I know a lot of people are going to kind of scoff at the price, but I'm sure some of you have heard about the Darksiders 3 Collector's Edition. What's announced, they have two versions. They have the Collector's Edition that just comes with the main character, I think Fury. Is that who the female lead is in Darksiders 3?
Yeah, because we've had War, we've had Death, and I believe she's Fury.
Yeah. So you can get a collector's edition. I think it's like $150. Comes with the statue, kind of your standard statue-based collector's edition. But they also announced a $400 collector's edition, not including shipping, because I think you can only get it from their website, and it's a UK-based website, I think.
Of course.
So it's, first of all, it's in euros when I initially looked at it, but then you got the shipping. And I think it all in all, it ended up being like $450 or something after taxes and shipping, or $475.
Ridiculous.
But it is, the collector's edition box is 47 inches long. I don't know how wide it is, but it comes with 4 statues. It comes with War from the first game, Death from the second. I don't know the merchant character that I guess is in all of the games. You get a statue of him, and you get a statue of Fury. Then there's like, the other stuff, wall scroll, soundtrack, steelbook, yada yada. But Have you seen this collector's edition? Have you looked at?
I haven't looked at it, but before maybe you show me something. I'm really, really surprised that they are coming out this cocked and loaded. Because I mean, after Darksiders 2, what was the company that made it originally? Is it Nordic?
Yeah, I believe so.
Because what company owned them? I remember, was it 2-3 years ago? They were just the company that owned all these different gaming dev companies were just bricking them and slicing them up and selling them off. And
right.
The company that makes this game didn't get picked up by anybody. So it was these games are done. And then they come back, they're like, oh, hey, remember us? We're making this game. Here's a $400 collector's edition.
The first Darksiders was made by Vigil Games.
Okay.
I don't know if they also made Darksiders 2. They were owned by THQ.
THQ, thank you.
And THQ
went out of business or whatever and had to sell everything.
Yeah. I think there might have been some other handoffs.
Because I can't think of the one company, Silver something. Silver. There was another company that they got picked up right away, but it was like the people that made Darksiders isn't getting picked up.
Yeah, and I think, let's see, Darksiders 3 is being made by Gunfire Games and being published by THQ Nordic. I don't know if Gunfire is comprised of previous dudes or whatnot. It says many of the staff from Vigil went to Retro, Battlecry Studios, Certain Affinity, and many others. And it says many other staff also joined Gunfire Games, set up by companies founder. Yeah, so I don't know, all over the place with that. But yeah, not a, didn't seem like it was a huge demand series. Usually, like, I could see maybe Nintendo saying, hey, got a new Zelda game coming out. Here's a $400 collector's edition.
That's crazy.
But here's a game that's not like hugely popular. I mean, it's a pretty awesome collector's edition. I'll say that. I mean, the statues, they're your, typical like 10, 12-inch statues. They look great. It's a pretty awesome package, but man, that price.
Well, here would be another concern for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's say, Joe Gamer or Sue Gamer really like, oh my God, I loved the series. I'll pay that price.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's based out of their, or if the warehouse that they're shipping it from is based out of the UK, I don't know if that's the deal, or if they're going to have some shipped already to a US side and they're going to have them here. That's a huge box.
Yeah.
Now, you've seen it. I've seen it. If any of the people listening, you're in part of different communities and groups that talk about, you're passionate about gaming and you talk about buying this or that. If you're any type of collector edition collector, you will have a horror story like Amazon shipped it. Look what happened to mine. Big gouge, or the box is crushed, or something. Some kind of tragedy has befallen your collector's edition that you've spent way more than you should have on. So let's just say that thing ships from the UK to here. You mean to tell me this big ass box is going to make it across the ocean and to your front doorstep with not a nick? Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Hopefully they packaged it well, because that's like 4 feet. I'm pretty sure I read that it was like I said, 47 inches. So
because only some of the other bigger ones you can think of is like what was it, the Call of Duty Black Ops 2, where they had like the huge loot crate. It was like their care package treasure chest. That thing was huge. One of the Halos.
Yeah, one of the Borderlands. It didn't come with the game, so that's why I didn't get it. But they had one of their loot boxes.
Yeah, the weapon chest. Yeah, that thing. Those things are huge. I know there was a Halo one that had like it was Halo Reach that had like, it was like the 5 characters of Halo Reach statue. That box was huge.
Yeah.
It's just like, how do you expect this to be like, here's your collector's edition. Oh, some person put a boot through the side of it. Yeah. Hi, I paid you a lot of money. Are you going to give me a refund? No. Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks.
That is a drag with collector's editions. Is usually a lot of times they'll be sold out in if yours comes damaged, like sometimes you're kind of screwed if it was a high demand one. Hopefully there's no problems with this.
Yeah.
I'm sure the people who end up getting it, I mean, if I was a rich man, I would consider it just because it's pretty awesome. I mean, the game's kind of looking pretty cool. I mean, that's the other thing. It's like there hasn't been like a ton of info on the game. I know there's like the initial trailers. I think there was 2. And then I heard that IGN had like a 5-minute gameplay video, but I hadn't seen that.
Okay.
Which is unfortunate because since I heard the announcement, like I was kind of interested to see more because, everything that I've heard about Darksiders 2, I know a lot of people do like it. And I was like, hey, maybe here's a potential cool game with another, badass female lead, which, I'm a fan of.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, why not?
But, oh man, $400. That's...
Well, and like you said, that's just the retail sticker on it. That's not shipping and tax and all that. So it's...
Yeah, if you're getting it from Square Enix store, man, that's like, geez, I would imagine what they charge.
Usually, well, I've there's certain things I order through the Square Enix store, like a lot of the Final Fantasy 14 collector's editions for the expansions of the game. So I've gotten all the collector's editions. There's 3 so far. Typically, it's about $25 for shipping, and that's just the low rate. Like if you want it like the night before, fast, we'll smile and wink at you when we deliver it. That's closer to like $70 to $90.
Yeah.
So like you say, hey, you got some extra scratch to spend? Go ahead, but I'll take the whenever you get it to me.
Yeah, and hey, maybe this is one. I doubt it, but it'd be cool if like a year or 2 years later down the road, like some of the other recent collector's editions I was able to pick up, that it ends up being, oh hey, here's a bunch of copies of Darksiders 3 collector's edition for $100. I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'd buy that. That was like the Mirror's Edge Catalyst and Deus Ex Mankind Divided collector's editions I got for like $10-$20.
Well, even Doom, when Bethesda remastered Doom, when that thing came out, I remember our mutual friend, he's like, can you please order that for me? Because you have Prime, so you'll get that's when Prime was still giving discounts on special collector's editions and stuff. So I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem, buddy. And then I think it was only like a month or 2 after the same collector's edition went from like $140 down to like $30.
No, I don't think it was that much, but it was.
It was a considerable discount.
Yeah, and I mean, I bought it. I pre-ordered it as well. It did sell out initially.
Oh, it did. Okay.
Like I think it did. Maybe I was mistaken, but it is what it is. I got no regrets. I'm glad I bought it. Love the game. Yeah, I love the figure. It's pretty sweet.
It's got the seizure lights on the bottom.
Not flash enough. I like that. It's just not. It's not like bright or pronounced enough because they're trying to give you that flashing like fan thing. Kind of makes me think of like Aliens, the movie. Aliens.
Exactly. Yep.
So, yeah. So there's that. So then, moving on here, just another little mention. Some people might have seen, but they put out the release date for the Netflix Castlevania animated series, October 26th this year, season 2. And I believe I heard it's 8 episodes versus the 4. So that's drag.
So if you're listening to this podcast and you have not seen the Castlevania on Netflix, stop what you're doing while continue to listen to the podcast and watch that because it is fantastic.
Yeah, we talked about this when it was first released, but they did a really good job. Like it's kind of like a retelling of Castlevania 3, but they nailed it. Like game to film adaptations usually don't pan out very well, but the guy who made this, like as it was being developed, really made it a point to express how passionate he was about the Castlevania series. So it's great to see an actual fan and not like a focus tested team coming up with the concept it's just great. It is. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Well, I remember when I first heard about it when it was originally coming out. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I was really iffy. I was going to watch it regardless, but I'm like, are they going to make it like safe for the family to watch so that little Timmy can watch it and be like, oh, okay? Or are they going to just screw something up so badly? Or what's going to be the problem? Because I don't try to be, but sometimes I get a little pessimistic and I'm like, how are you going to screw up something I love? Like
Right.
Michael Bay to Transformers. You ruined my childhood. Thanks a lot. You ruined Ninja Turtles. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
So, but I watched it and I was just literally, I think I was playing something on my computer. I turned that on, Castlevania on my TV. I was glued. I was just like, oh, I'm still playing a game. I ended up just canceling out of the game I was playing, whatever it was. But I was like, it was dark. They have swearing in it. It's bloody.
Violent.
Yeah. I'm like, you did it right.
Yes.
I was like, oh God, this is so good. And I'm like, after 4 episodes, I'm like, wait, where's the rest of it?
Yeah, because I hadn't paid too close of attention, so I didn't realize it was only 4 episodes. And I was actually talking to a local acquaintance of ours that's in our Minnesota group, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm on episode 2, man." I'm like, I'm sold. I'm gonna binge watch the rest. Binge watch 2 more 20-minute episodes.
I was gonna say, do you have a half an hour? Because that sounds good.
I was like, fuck. So yeah, that's my only complaint is way too short. I need more, and 8 more episodes is I'll take it. Hopefully it keeps up the quality and we will get more. I'm interested to see how far they get in the story with season 2.
I have no problem in it. I am thirsty for more. Give me all you can. If they keep, like you say, if they keep on track to what we got already, give me as much as you can handle. Because sign me up.
Yes. Then just a little cool thing. I got a couple. Hey, here's a couple videos that are really neat. So I came across saw an article. I guess came from a couple different sources. I think the first one I saw was from a site that I follow called Bloody Disgusting. They kind of cover like horror news and stuff like that, movies, games, yada yada. But a content creator that goes by the name of Geiger Brick, GIGERBRICK, recreated John Carpenter's The Thing, or at least the trailer for The Thing, in Grand Theft Auto 5 online, and it's pretty awesome. Not not everything's spot on, but he does a really good job of recreating the trailer, and it's always neat. I always enjoy seeing where they kind of do the not necessarily like source filmmaker, because you can do your own thing in GTA's filmmaker or whatever. But I like seeing these things because they're cool, and it's interesting to see how much attention to some of the finer details from trailers and other bits of media that people recreate. So definitely check it out. I had shared it on my Facebook and Twitter for if everybody's looking for the link for that. Check it out. It's pretty neat. I
kind of feel bad in that aspect because I'm one of the people like I'm usually on board with a lot of cult favorites in most movie groups. I don't know why. Maybe I have to watch it again. The recreated film that this guy made in the game is really cool. You showed it to me before we started, and I was like, wow, that's actually really cool. It's really good. And I love when fans do stuff like that because you're like, God, you're so creative. How did you think of that? But the movie itself, I don't care for. I'm the odd man out there.
There's things I really do like about the movie. I absolutely love the practical effects. I mean, the thing is renowned for the monster. Just the it's one of the best, like, for practical, like, monster effects that they've done, and I love that. I do like I really enjoy just Kurt Russell in general, but
Sure.
yeah, overall, like, I've never really been super big on The Thing. I've rewatched it a few times, just like, maybe I just need to revisit it. And I've seen it a few times at this point. I've seen it. I saw it when I was a lot younger, a kid. I've mentioned this before, but I pretty much, like, my dad kind of like allowed me to grow up with horror movies of all generations, so all the way back from the 50s to current, like, hack and slash of the 80s at the time. Because I was able to handle it as a kid, and I think I turned out fine.
Cool. Yeah.
So, and then, years later, teenager, checked it out again. And then I can't remember the last time I watched it, but I think it was like later 20s is when I watched it again. And it's just like, there's things I really enjoy about it, but just overall, like, I don't have the, like you said, kind of the cult connection to it. I do recognize that it is considered cult, and I think that's fine and that's cool for the people who do enjoy it. Yeah, there's things I like, but yeah, it's not like a celebrated horror movie for me.
Yeah.
Either, so
I just kind of stand there. I'm like, okay. I mean,
yeah, and yeah, and also for of course, people know that they did like a remake some years ago, or not necessarily a remake, kind of like a follow-up, but The Thing was actually a remake from an old black and white it might have been 50s.
I didn't know that.
I'd seen that before I saw the remake, because, like I said, a lot of what I grew up on was horror, and my dad being older generation, like, he grew up on the old black and white horror movies, a lot of the classics, of course, People versus the Flying Saucers and War of the Worlds and The Thing and all that stuff. So I've seen all those too. So,
was he into the classic monster films too, like the old Dracula and Frankenstein and stuff like that? Or
yes, yeah, oh yeah. He likes, so I don't know, like, his like ranking necessarily, because my dad's kind of all over the place when it comes to movies. Like, my dad, and he's definitely, they say the TV generation.
Okay.
Like, that's my dad. Like, he watches all kinds of stuff. Cable TV kind of went crap. There's never anything on with the prevalence of streaming services. He has access to Netflix, and he just a lot of the movies I love, he doesn't. Like, I like I don't necessarily know how to explain them. I wouldn't say like art house movies or like abstract films, but stuff that's kind of a little weird or different. Like, more recently, like Annihilation, or just kind of like I always kind of call them like mindfuck movies, where they're like, whoa, that's crazy shit. Like, he doesn't like those movies, but he watches, like, you name this bad horror movie, my dad's probably seen it. Like, yep. Asylum, we tore apart Asylum's asshole last episode. But I'm pretty sure my dad's seen like all the Asylum movies. He doesn't necessarily like them. He sits back and he laughs at these bad movies and stuff.
Sure.
If it's like truly just a terrible, terrible movie, like, yeah, he'll shut it off after like 10, 15 minutes. But he's seen like the horror movies. He doesn't watch like the gore splatter movies and stuff like that. But monster movies is kind of his thing. So, well,
it's cool,
fun stuff.
And then you got to ride on that, so you got a good taste of good movies and stuff like that. Because,
oh yeah, growing up, my exposure to film in particular was like pretty robust, and more so in like horror, sci-fi, some drama stuff. A lot of the classics, like, he introduced my dad's not like a pop culture guy. He's kind of a niche person. Very much like I am. In some ways, I kind of take we're kind of against the grain, against popular opinion sort of people, But it was neat. It gives me, I think it gives me kind of like, I always felt like a kind of a unique perspective compared to some peers. We all grew up during the 80s and the 90s, and we kind of got more of like, I think of an exposure because of how like TV and film was provided to us back then, where now there's so much streaming services and things like that. Like there's so much choice. Like I think for the younger generations, like the quote unquote classics, like they don't have to experience them. Try not to go off on a tangent here. It kind of relates to a video that I saw recently by a guy, and I think it's pronounced Giguk. I think it's Gigguk. He has a YouTube channel. He talks about anime and stuff. And he recently did I don't know if it was recently, but he did a video talking about how like the anime fandom has changed, and I think this is true when it comes to like video games too, especially how for us people around our age, 30s, people in their 30s, older, more so than people younger than us. Like we like growing up in when you were involved in a fandom, it was very niche, very exclusive. If you had nerd interests, you were shunned in many regards. Like and he talks about how like anime, like when 80s, 90s, when you got into anime, like you have to cover the classics. Like you got to watch this. You have to watch this. You have to watch this. And then you can kind of start exploring, but you had your essentials. And I think in like with film, like 80s, 90s, like it was a lot like that too. You kind of had to absorb all these classics while checking out the new stuff, where I feel a lot of that is being the mindset's changed a lot, where you don't have to experience all the classics, which is kind of a shame, because I think it gives a lot of appreciation to where things came from, where they are now, development, changing of ideas, stuff like that. So
I mean, it's a weird concept though, because yes. I being the older telling the younger,
yes.
If they're like, oh, I just played what's the newest Mario on the Switch called? Mario Odyssey. If they're, you talk to some 13-year-old kid, let's say, and they're like, oh, you played Mario? You like Mario? And they're like, yeah, I played Odyssey. It was so good. Like, you should play Mario 1. Yeah. It's kind of hard to sell them on that, because they're going to be like, what is this?
Right.
And you go, that's where it came from. You have to respect it, or you have to appreciate it. Like, no, he doesn't.
Yeah.
No,
in video games, it's a little different because the visual element has changed so much, where that's less with film. I mean, people still look like people. Special effects have changed a lot, but
I was gonna say
acting is acting.
True.
So it's just interesting. I'm not sure if I was going anywhere with that, but I think that's all I had to say about that.
Okay.
And then kind of mention just a little mention in case anybody hasn't heard of this. More bad news in the world of people who have some of these subscription services to retailers who give us discounts on our video games when we buy them new. Of course, a lot of people have heard that Best Buy is essentially shut down the Gamers Club Unlocked unless you were currently involved. They're not taking any more signups. They're ending that service where you used to be able to pre-order, get a discount. Same with Amazon Prime. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you get 20% discount on all new games. Not too long ago, I think it was last fall, right, where they dropped the discount on collector's editions. And just recently, they came out and said that re-releases and remasters are also on the list of ineligible games to get 20% off. Remasters. I don't understand what they mean by re-releases necessarily. I haven't looked into that, but it's kind of a bummer. Here's especially being now where remasters are very common. I've bought.
Oh, I think I'm almost wondering. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, it's fine.
I know me and you were talking before about what will they mean by re-releases. I wonder if those are like Dark Souls, the Gold Edition, where it gives you all the DLC, and it's usually cheaper than it was when it came out originally retail.
Yeah,
Dark Souls 3 was $59.99, but you get the gold one, it's like $35.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Yeah,
nice. So, but yeah, that's a drag. But then again, they're not full price games, so
yeah.
I'm still sore about the collector's edition thing. That sucks.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. High demand items, people are going to pay that regardless. So I guess.
Well, unless the marketplace has changed dramatically, people tend to fail, or people fail to realize that Best Buys, Walmarts, Targets, whatever big retailer you're buying your video games from, even, I know, I hate to say it, GameStop, they don't make a lot of money off you going in and going, I'd like the new XYZ game, please. And they go, here you go. And you pull the plastic off. They pay, because let's take a standard PS4 game, $59.99 plus tax. They probably paid 50, maybe even lower, go to 45 for that game. Mm-hmm. So they're not making a lot of profit.
Yeah.
So when they re-release and most remasters that have been coming out, I got the Dot Hack PS4 one. That was only I think through Amazon was $35.
Yeah.
So they're not making, and they're on top of what the price I think was $39. So it was 40, then 20% off. It was they're cutting their profit margin down.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine there's probably people going, ooh, I can get 20% off through Amazon. I'm going to buy 50 of them and I'll sell them to people.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, maybe so. They're just probably looking out for their bottom end.
I mean, I'm sure I'm sure their profit margins are fine, but it's what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
In this day and age of capitalism. Speaking of lots of money, just another little mention here. Blizzard put out some info regarding the anniversary event. When they started their recent anniversary event, they released what they're calling the Pink Mercy skin. Mercy is one of the characters in the game. You can get all kinds of different outfits for your characters. Cosmetic stuff. It's fun. I dig it. They released a pink costume for Mercy, and all proceeds were being donated to the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. And with the skins, and they're also selling a promotional shirt made by an artist. I had her name available. I do not. I think I just lost it. Got it. Her name is Vicky Sai. She made a T-shirt that they were also selling. Proceeds going, but they raised $12.7 million.
Wow.
Which I think is pretty awesome. I mean, it's a lot of Mercy skins, that's for sure. I think the skin was $15, and of course I bought it because I support boobs. So yeah.
Amen, brother. Amen. Just so I don't seem like a bad person, I do not play Overwatch, so I didn't buy one. So it's not because I don't like boobs. It's just because I don't play the game. So I didn't know that was a thing.
But no, pretty cool, and I always think it's neat when companies do stuff like that. Blizzard totally didn't have to donate any money, and people would have still probably bought the skin in droves.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
If it wasn't for charity, I probably wouldn't have bought the skin. $15 for a single skin is a lot in Overwatch, but it's for a good cause, and A lot of people, a lot of us know somebody who's been affected by it. I don't, in my immediate family, fortunately, it's not breast cancer, but I have immediate family members who deal with cancer and stuff. So, I'm a little bit more sympathetic to the causes of raising money for cancer. So I was like, what the hell? And it was a cool skin. I liked it too. So,
well, it's good that you helped out. It's, whether people know people that like think negatively on gaming, or they think it's, bad for them, or you got certain like United World organizations saying it's a disease now, because that's a thing. It's kind of nice to be able to go, oh, video games just raised almost $13 million for breast cancer. Yeah, we're just terrible. It's such a bad thing. That's a good positive message.
Yeah, and that's it's definitely not uncommon in the gaming industry. I mean, we got Games Done Quick, that's for charity. We got Child's Play. We got the St. Jude, that one of our local acquaintances, Uncle Danny, has a YouTube channel that he's doing stuff for charity too. So it's not uncommon. So I think people need to kind of look at a lot of the positives that come from gamers and the gaming industry. And, it's not demonize us, because we're not. We both know kind of where this is going. So we'll pull it back here before we get too crazy into the political
games are fun.
Yes. And then just one other little mention. Some people might not have heard. I'm sure most of you are probably familiar with Mike Matei, mostly known for Cinemassacre, James Rolfe's co-host, essentially. Mike Matei is kind of known for like some of his art. He did, he does all the preview images for the AVGN videos. He's done lots of other stuff. But he apparently, I don't know if it was the last 6 months, but he took about 6 months to recreate the original 90s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon animated intro, and he recreated it in Mario Paint.
It's so cool.
He did a fantastic job. It's not as smooth. There's definitely less frames there, but I mean, it's spot on.
We're talking about Mario Paint here, people.
Mario Paint, and he made what was it, like 45 seconds, 1 minute animated cartoon intro. that is a feat. Like, holy crap. And it, like I said, it looks great. So of course, from my understanding, they might have put it up on the Cinemassacre channel, I'm not sure, but it was copyright striked or something, so they had to take it down, I think probably because of the music. And he has since uploaded on Vimeo. Again, I shared links. I don't know if I shared it on Facebook, but I do know I shared it on Twitter. But you can look up, I'm sure you can find it if you look for it. But it's on Vimeo. He said he was putting it there so it wouldn't disappear, and basically told people to repost, mirror it, share it. He wasn't doing it for profit or anything. He's doing it for fun. So it's definitely worth checking out. It's impressive. Some of that Mario
when you have a lot of time on your hands.
Yeah, I suppose. So then with that said, that's pretty much going to cover like our news mentions for this episode. I think, of course, we're going a little bit long. So we're going to jump into the community question from last week, which was left by Black Metal Gamer. And he asked, what are your favorite bonus stages in games? And what modern game IP would you want to have a bonus stage? And I wanted to mention his comment from that. And he said, it might have been kind of playing off of what we were kind of joking about, but he says, Dark Souls bonus stage would have two kinds. One, you're naked, avoiding a bunch of giant dads, So it's a dodge roll game on a timer.
Ew.
And then 2, he says, you're Sigmire trying to fat roll all the barrels in a big ass castle. And I can see, I can kind of see those as like definitely being like, if Dark Souls had a bonus stage, like fat rolling through barrels as a bonus stage, like totally makes sense.
Like for every 20 barrels you crush, you get a
yeah, and I believe I'm just trying to double check. Let's see, I don't believe we had any other community comments in regards to that. Just double checking. Yes. So then we'll go on to our answers, I guess.
Sure.
So why don't you go ahead? What would you?
So the question being, what are some of my favorite bonus stages in games?
Yes.
So thinking about it for the last couple days or so, my top one would have to be Street Fighter when you get to beat up the car.
Yeah, that's classic. Like,
I mean,
for sure.
Being a kid and playing that, you're just like, bonus stage, okay, in a fighting game, whatever. And it's like, beat this car up, go. Like, how? You're sitting there,
punch and kick it.
Well, and that was the thing is like, I was a Ryu user, so I would just do that like kick where if you got close, it would kick up and then kick down, so you got 2 attacks for one price. And then after a while you figure it out. It was just like, oh, cool. And then the car is like blowing up and you're like, I'm badass because I just kicked the crap out of a car.
For sure.
And then my other one would have to be, I forget, but I know for sure it's the Punisher arcade game. And if I remember correctly, the Genesis version is the port of the arcade game, if I'm correct. Anyway, the bonus stages in that is the Punishers in like this warehouse and these barrels are falling and you have a crosshair that you have to move manually with your joystick or controller and you have to shoot the barrels. And then, it's one of those shoot all 30 when the timer is up and then, hey, you get all these bonus points or a free life or something. So, but it was funny because if you got all 30 barrels or whatever the number of barrels is, Punisher would go, I did it. You'd get the voice of that. It's like, oh, he's pretty proud of himself.
Nice.
So those would be my 2 choices for my favorite bonus stages.
Yeah, so mine are maybe a little less traditional bonus stages, but I pretty much considered them bonus stages. So first one that kind of came to mind when I started thinking about this, I of course I thought about a lot of the classics, like some of the Super Mario ones and stuff like that. But then I was like, hey, what about one of my favorite games of all time, Shantae and the Pirate's Curse? So, and I don't know if it's a widely known secret, but in the Royal Waterways, which is basically like the first dungeon you go into, once you get the dash charge move when you get Risky's sword, pretty much as soon as you drop into that dungeon, you can charge at the wall and you'll bust through the wall. And you'll be teleported to essentially it's the one of the labyrinths from the original Game Boy Color Shantae, 8-bit Game Boy Color art and all that.
Cool.
And there's not. I don't think there was really anything there. Maybe some coins and stuff like that. I don't think there was like any like special power-ups or anything, but I was like, hey, that's really neat. Throwback to this game that most people probably haven't played because I know it was available on the Virtual Console, I believe, for the Wii. But even still, the original Shantae game is relatively obscure compared to a lot. So kind of neat. I dig it. Throwbacks are always a neat thing. And then also I wanted to mention again, kind of like a less traditional bonus stage. more kind of like secret level thing is Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. Diablo 2 being the cow level, kind of building off of a running joke. And they're like, you know what, there is a cow level.
Yep, there's no cow level.
That was actually a cheat code. So Diablo 2 had the cow level, bunch of cows with basically halberds, crazy tough the first time you encounter it. And then Diablo 3, I was really hoping that they'd continue something with that, and they definitely did. Diablo 3 has Whimsyshire, which kind of initially starts kind of playing off of some jokes related to the cow level. There's a cow king spirit and whatnot that you deal with while you're trying to get this unlocked to get to Whimsyshire. But Whimsyshire is basically completely opposite visually of what Diablo is. It's very bright, very colorful, rainbows, clouds, flowers, little crazed teddy bears and unicorns trying to kill you. The first time I saw it was hilarious because I managed to get to Whimsyshire pretty early on, before it was like widely known. I got screenshots to prove it, date-wise anyways. I think I posted them on Facebook, right when I found it. I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. So yeah. And then I guess the second part of the question, what modern game IP would you want to have a bonus stage? And that one I couldn't really pick anything just because so many games. So I'm going generic answer here and saying I couldn't pick one because I think so many games could have bonus stages. Essentially with modern gaming, it's less kind of like secrets, more Easter eggs.
Yeah.
And I always love it when games have Easter eggs, throwbacks either to previous games in the series, other games, just little neat, weird oddities and stuff like that. So yeah, I wasn't able to really come up with anything that for a modern game to have a bonus stage besides maybe Dark Souls, because it'd be hilarious.
Well, my answer to that would be, well, look at the name itself, bonus stage.
Yes.
I'm not trying to find some metaphysical reality to this. No, it's a bonus stage. How many newer games have stages?
Well, it could be like
progress on a game.
Bonus area or secret area, kind of even like Diablo. Like it's like I said, not traditional bonus stage, but we got modern retro games. A lot of those have stages.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say is it comes down to a lot of but a newer IP. So I mean, but if I had to give an answer, beyond a Easter egg or type, I would actually have to say modern fighting games. I wish they would bring back some kind of
challenges
for Tekken or Marvel versus Capcom or just Street Fighter, anything. Just bring something back, like a beating up or maybe some kind of.
And Mortal Kombat had the stone break.
Yeah, which they only did in number
Test
1.
Your might.
And then never had it again.
Yeah. So yeah. So then we were kind of thinking of ideas for a question to throw out there for next week. We didn't have any submissions this time. So, Justin, would you want to kind of mention a question that you thought of that I think is a good one to go with?
Certainly, I can do that. So, as he said, we were thinking about questions, and I'm just like, well, I know a lot of people cover it, whatever, but I like it. When you're playing a game, starting a new game, whatever it may be, and you have the option of creating or choosing between a male and a female character lead, who do you pick and why?
Yeah, I think that's pretty simple. So let us know your answers, your thoughts in the comments, and we will cover this one next week. And I do want to give kind of a related shout out. There is another content creator, member of the Cartridge Club. So if you're a Cartridge Club person, you're probably familiar with him. If you're not, I highly recommend checking out his channel. He makes some really great discussion topics. His name is Caleb J. Ross. You can look him up on YouTube. Like I said, he does kind of more, a lot of kind of like game philosophy ideas, more less the game itself, more game industry, being a gamer. Really interesting topics. And he actually did a video recently talking about this exact same thing of why he picks the gender of the character that he picks when he plays the games, and what does that mean. So I think it's pretty interesting, and I think we both have some interesting thoughts that we can share on this next week. Sure. So then, for the sake of time, I think unfortunately this episode we're going to skip over the upcoming games. There's not a whole lot coming out in the next couple weeks anyways.
It's not September yet.
Yes, we already did mention Octopath Traveler, and then we're getting like another port of Sonic Mania and Mega Man Collection, but nothing like big being released in the next couple weeks. So I think it's okay. So then, with that said, real quick, what are your plans for the next couple weeks?
Well, I got raiding tomorrow in Final Fantasy XIV, but after looking up some gameplay of that Shining Resonance, I'm actually quite excited to hit the ground running. So I'm going to try to get some of that in. I think outside of gaming, I have a bonfire on Saturday, and that'll be nice if weather permitting. So If not, oh darn, I have to stay in and play video games. Woe is my life.
For sure. Yeah, cool. I mean, that sounds good to me. For me, it's probably just gonna be Breath of the Wild as far as gaming goes. Probably some Overwatch on the weekend with friends, but like I said, it's. I mean, as most of you know, Breath of the Wild is a very long game, and I'm suspecting that it's probably going to take me a while. So you'll probably hear me say this again a few times. So, yeah. And then I just want to let everybody know who's listening, however they're listening, how you can get a hold of us on various platforms. Of course, the podcast is available on SoundCloud. You can also watch it on YouTube, and it is available streaming through podcast apps and iTunes as well. Then you can look me up as The Game Grinder. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter as at the _Game Grinder. I'm also on Instagram as well. And then if you want to get a hold of Justin for the time being, just leave a comment on the podcast on YouTube, SoundCloud. If it's somewhere else that he doesn't use, I will pass along the info. And then if it becomes more of an important thing to have social media access, maybe that'll be something in the future.
Yes, definitely.
So then I think that is going to do it for this episode of the Game Tenants Podcast. Thanks for everybody for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Take care.
See ya.